Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with more Kart Rider Drift as we continue KDL Preseason 2. My name is Will Cho, joined by Wolf once again. And tonight, of course, since it is the weekend, we continue to have 2 team matches and another solo match.
Yeah, and today our team matches are pretty good. Our first one, Aura versus KWANGDONGFREECS, a long-anticipated match right now. Arguably our 2 strongest teams. I think Live Sandbox still in the conversation there, but at the moment at the top of our standings, right? And KWANGDONGFREECS, defending champions, of course, of Preseason 1, against Aura, who are coming back looking stronger than they even did last season. And I think that we might have an ace match on our hands. I think this is going to be a pretty close one, very back and forth. And I think the coolest way, if Aura do end up winning this, that they could do it to really make a statement is to also win speed mode, because that's going to be the tough one, I think.
Yeah, especially for KWANGDONGFREECS, right? They've always been the speed demons. I mean, you know, now and then they'll still pick up their item wins as well. But if you haven't been following along, this is basically what the preseasons look like as we continue Preseason 2. We got 8 teams that have come through the qualifiers as well for the team matches. We go through a round robin in the main stage, and then the top 4 will go through a postseason tournament bracket to determine who will be the next winner.
That's right. You can see the prize money here is identical to our PS1 tournament, as here's the standings. As mentioned, KWANGDONGFREECS and Aura both at the top here at 2-0. Sungnam rocks as well in that conversation here in terms of the standings right now. Aura having a massive differential advantage over KWANGDONGFREECS at the moment, an entire 6 rounds ahead, plus that additional set.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, all also because KWANGDONGFREECS, like, they've been pushed to the ace match. Same thing with Live Sandbox, right? These 2 kind of monster pro teams that have been ruling the Kart Rider universe for quite some time. And suddenly in Preseason 2 here in Drift, they're getting pushed by some of these amateur teams up all the way to the ace match. Sure, they'll still be able to secure that win, but, you know, if this trend continues, they might not get that #1 seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As our second match, we did mention it briefly, Live Sandbox will also be playing today, so important for them if they want to maintain their undefeated streak to take that win over Seraphic. And we will, of course, have our solo group later on. So I'm looking at this solo group. There's some really big standout names in there. JJONG, of course. Luning is also an up-and-comer. Jimin, who actually performed very well in solos last season. Nock, a player who is insanely good at solos. He just sees the game differently than everybody else. And I think like some you know, players who have a lot of experience, right? You even have like Spell coming into this group %. So I think that this group should be pretty interesting and pretty dynamic, because I think there are some players we like to see here in this group who I'd rather not like to see, that we think we'll see towards the top. But then some surprises I think could happen.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And just as a note for anyone watching, if you are waiting for the Live Sandbox and Seraphic game, that will actually be played third today. That will be the last match played, just because we do have some members on Live Sandbox who aren't feeling well, so we have to make arrangements for that. So to make sure that the flow of the night doesn't get interrupted, we will be playing the KWANGDONGFREECS and Aura team match first, then solos, and then the last team match. But as we like to do here at the KDL, we will be jumping right into our first matchup, and as introduced, the first team on stage is going to be the defending champions from Preseason 1. It is KWANGDONGFREECS.
No major changes here except the spelling of the IEDs of World and Cool, which always, as a caster, is a very positive thing.
Yes.
No more ZZZ, no Dog World, just World and Cool, as their names would suggest. And they are the defending champions. They have that really cool moment in the opening video, you know, that plays to the Kart Rider countdown. I really love that. And Aura here, a team that, again, is filled with strong players, great challengers. I think that their speed mode has improved a lot, and we saw it improve throughout PS1. But now in Preseason 2 here, I think that this team is a real contender here to go to the finals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, right, we like to distinguish between pro and amateur teams just based on, like, do they have an organization's backing, right? Do they have the structure, etc. But all that aside, in terms of pure reputation and skill, I mean, this team is up there, and they're continuing to prove that. Even some of their, you know, kind of trash talk that we've seen in the prior matches, they kind of call out all the other amateur teams of like, okay, you guys we're still on a different level from all of you guys, right? We've been here, we've been on the stage, we've been performing, improving ourselves, and I think they're vying for that #1 spot here in Preseason 2.
Yeah, they've got some new jerseys as well, actually.
Yeah.
They were on stage today, too. The new logo looking great, so definitely becoming a powerhouse org here in Kart Rider Drift very early on. Let's focus back on the KWANGDONGFREECS here, the ace match addicts here. Now just the only thing remaining is the item match here, as they've got their fan signs and everything. As these guys are right now the best team in team mode, of course, in Kart Rider Drift, and we'll see if they can maintain that form, because like I mentioned, nothing really changed here.
Yeah, and just praying for some good items. I mean, yes, there is an element, right, of chance involved, because it's all a numbers game when it comes to item mode, but obviously we've talked about it before with the patches coming into Preseason 2. I think there's definitely a lot more that you can try to arrange for yourself. There's a little bit more agency on the player side. See if KWANGDONG have really figured something out for their own, because if not, Aura's a team that has always been good at that item mode.
Yeah, they made a name for themselves on it very early. So you can see that jersey I was mentioning as everyone's holding up their signs. I think this team has, you know, specifically a really strong item ace in tech, right? Nock is very wise, and Luning joining this roster I think adds an X factor because he's very good at late pushes. And, you know, we'll see if they can play their 1-2 strategy here and have those early leads and push against a team like KWANGDONGFREECS, who will be very disruptive early, especially, you know, we consider Spear, who's one of the best defensive players we have in KDL right now, as today's vlog title will be "We Lost Again."
Yeah, this is of course calling out KWANGDONGFREECS for their own little vlogs that they like to put up, especially their coach. So, you know, Aura just kind of trying to predict the future of KWANGDONGFREECS, and like they said in their little bio sheet, they're actually more so than item mode coming into Preseason 2. So far, their speed modes have looked impeccable. So we'll see. I mean, if they can, again, continue that against a team like KWANGDONGFREECS, then they've really proven themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the real test tonight, is can you actually go toe-to-toe with KWANGDONGFREECS in speed? And will KWANGDONGFREECS actually push them away for their style? KWANGDONG chose speed, unsurprisingly, with their priority here, and they'll pick Desert Construction Chaos, Village Boom Hill Tunnel, and Glacier Extreme Stadium, as we are going to potentially Brazil, as well as Mine Winding Slopes. We'll go to guaranteed. Those are the picks for Aura. Zigzag Timberland and Terracotta Twister being banned here. Two maps we actually see very commonly in the KDL, very rarely banned actually, but Aura just doesn't want to deal with those standard tracks against a team that's so good at speed.
Yeah, and also Mine Winding Slopes, again, one of those tracks that you would think KWANGDONGFREECS is good at, but they've always showed a little bit of, you know, difficulty and a little bit of instability, so Aura trying to call them out. Also, interestingly enough, KWANGDONGFREECS have continued the same exact order of bans and picks for all of their matches so far in team matches, so they're still continuing to just play the same tracks. They're also banning out the same tracks in order, and quite frankly, that probably won't change until they, like, lose the coin flip and don't get speed priority.
It says that Aura doesn't know the way to lose. They just don't know the way in which losing happens.
They don't know the way to lose. Well, we'll see if that happens today. Of course, the first track, it was the selection from KWANGDONGFREECS, and I mean, again, we'll just have to wait to see. They're so confident in the tracks that they feel good in, so if Aura can really upset them here in speed mode, I think that's the real story here. Does look like we're just gonna have to double check a couple things, maybe a couple of the players on the Aura side. We're requesting a little bit more time for the setups here.
Yeah, maybe a small headset issue here. See some keys removed here, which is actually cool to see around the arrow keys, so that you don't accidentally bump anything while you are playing, and so you have a little bit more freedom, because those arrow keys are quite critical, as any Kart Rider player will tell you. I actually like that. It's kind of a personal touch.
Yeah, it is kind of nice to see. Also, just because obviously, like, with the way you want to control, and sometimes you got to go for, you know, the body blocks, the stops, etc. Like, it's not just about driving on a course, right? Yeah. It's not just about racing on your own. So there is a lot of finesse involved in Kart Rider Drift. If you haven't played, no need to get scared. Obviously, you jump in, you can enjoy it a little bit. You can enjoy item mode. It starts slow, but if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, if you really want to start to get on those leaderboards, etc., it becomes a whole nother universe of racing.
Yeah, and you'll know too how much how important it is to make sure you have that muscle memory and exactly how you want to feel those arrow keys the second you start doing your license test, because that's when you're going to realize just how difficult some of these patterns and input methods really can be if you want to get the maximum speed out of a drift, for example, or cut that corner exactly the fastest possible way while still maintaining that nitro build. So it's our time. We will see. I think one of the most exciting matchups for me, as we have a little bit of extra time here, is kind of Spear versus Seas. I think they have very similar play styles. Spear, I think he's a player that really stands out to me as being the defensive player. Like, he is so good at making sure that Sungbin World and Cool can actually stay up there as front runners, especially Sungbin, of course, when he's in that front spot. Spear is fantastic at defending him, and Nock, see if he can create some disruption himself. That 1v1, I'm so excited to see how it's going to play out.
All right, let's see if it happens right from the get-go. This is round one between the two teams. We go to Desert Construction Chaos. And the race begins between KWANGDONGFREECS and Aura here in round one.
Here we go, Seas and Nock already here with Hero. In fact, a triple lead for Aura right now, as we will see Cool try to contest. Now, with Sungbin World and Spear significantly behind here, they are going to have to try to make some approaches here to two-lap track, excuse me. But Luning's defense so far has been pretty unbreakable.
Yeah, I mean, a 1v3 here, and he's really able to just make sure he's keeping tabs on whoever is trying to break through that line. Now, a lot of the middle of the pack getting all bunched up, and they're going to get even closer together here as we enter the difficult sections of this track.
Yeah, Cool here actually was able to make a push to first with some collisions actually between the Aura players there. A bit of a misplay there back on that first turn. And now Hero trying to maintain control here as World continues to compete, as this is a very neck-and-neck race right now. Aura, though, still having that 1-3-5 lead.
Yeah, I mean, with this especially, I mean, you go into the second lap, anything could happen, especially because neither team is really holding a 1-2 confidently enough. Yes, Luning a little bit behind in 8th place, and KWANGDONGFREECS might be making that call of saying, okay, 8th, we've got them locked all the way down there. Let's try to figure out what our placements want to be going towards the end of the second lap.
Yeah, Hero maintaining first place, which is keeping Aura in the lead for now. I say that as we do see 2-3-5 picked up here as World needs to get that first place spot if KWANGDONG are going to take this right now if nothing else changes. I mean, this is such a tight race. A Spear making a play for it here, but will lose control.
Yeah, but if he can just stay close to C's, right, either a 2-3-4 or a 2-3-5-6, they should be able to get the win. So World, I mean, if anything, he's just putting pressure on. He feels no pressure of his own to try to overtake Hero. He just has to make sure that they keep the 2-3 position.
Yeah, exactly. With how things have changed here, that's definitely true. As C's is actually trying his best to prevent the pass, but he will fail. And KWANGDONGFREECS now in a firm control, especially with Hero's collision.
Yeah, Hero's going to let that second space a little pass by a bit, and Cool just trying to really contest for that, because right now, Aura, they might be able to make a push if C's overtakes Cool.
Yeah, this is so close right now here. Final push, 200 meters to go. The 1-2 is going to get locked in.
Yeah, just the 1-2 finish. It looked like anything could happen at the end, but Cool really maintaining his namesake right at the end and just making sure that he bumps at an angle where he's still able to continue to get pushed forward a bit without losing too much speed, where the others won't be able to just run right past him around that last corner.
Yeah, and there was a moment, too, where it felt like this game was actually going to be decided from third to fifth, right, and not first and second, but ultimately it actually is just a 1-2 here for KWANGDONGFREECS as World and Cool will take it. Yeah. I think one of the big problems for Aura was the momentum that was lost on that early collision halfway through the first lap, because they actually had top three all controlled, and then you had that defensive setup at the back where KWANGDONGFREECS just couldn't get into position. They were holding those final 3 places, 6, 7, 8, and then one bump, and then suddenly everything changes. Now Cool has an opportunity to get into first place, and it was a great start for Aura, but they just couldn't hold on to it. And we'll see if that changes as we move into the winding slopes, their track pick here.
Yeah, of course. And one of the kind of main strategies of Aura has always been to put Hero up there, right? Let him do his own thing, and then it's Seas and Nock that try to support him, and Luning will fill whatever gaps that need to be filled. Obviously, Luning, a great racer on his own, and when they first started Preseason 2, he was a speed ace. It looks like it's now Hero. But we'll see if they can get that start they want to put Hero into first place right off the get-go as we go into round 2 over on Mine Winding Slopes.
Off we go here in track 2. Spear and Cool in the lead.
They're not really letting anything happen for Aura here off the get-go. I think KWANGDONGFREECS just really understanding the agenda of Aura, that they want to put one of their members up front and then support from behind. And KWANGDONGFREECS just says, nah, if you guys don't get a good start, we haven't seen you win a speed race yet.
Yeah, that is very true. At the moment, Cool and Spear holding those first 2 spots. And and when Spear is in second, man, it is just so hard to crack this guy. Look at these defensive plays here. Takes that aggressive inner, and it's just blocking for C's here. C's will pass him, however.
Yeah, C's does find an opening, and C's actually gets a nice stop against Spear as well to maintain that second place position. So C's is doing his part. However, it's a 1-3-4, a hefty point lead here for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, the rest of the team, unfortunately, just not able to pull that same weight here. So all eyes on C's right now, and we will take a look. Oh, man, rough collision there for Luning, and he and Doc are so far behind.
Yeah, meanwhile, C's actually pushed his Cool out of the way into the shortcut. Same thing with Spear. C's is doing everything he can to try to make even just 1 ounce of hope here for Aura. If Hero can try to break into the top 3, Aura should be able to overtake them.
And it's a really unfortunate situation here. It's a 1-lap track, though, as Luning's still super far behind, and KWANGDONGFREECS just that 1 point ahead at the moment. C's did everything he could, but ultimately it isn't going.
Oh!
Well, wait!
Spear actually hits the wall on the last jump.
No way!
I was actually assuming it was the ending, and I was looking at the standings. I didn't see exactly what happened in that collision. I don't know, because Spear has done some crazy collisions there at the end to make sure his team secures the victory, but I'm not sure if this time it was intentional or if he just thought that the race was over. He kind of didn't pay attention to his flight path.
I mean, I'm guessing it's probably the latter. I mean, it sounds weird to assume that, but I feel like...
Well, yeah, because they weren't under pressure to, like, make a hard stop or anything on the jump, right?
That's quite wild. Now, hopefully we'll get a replay of it. I don't know if we will, but I'm hoping, because that was a bit odd. But otherwise, it should have been. This is locked up here on the side of KWANGDONGFREECS. It's tied up. At the end of the day, Aura will take the win, regardless of circumstances. It looks like we're just going to skip out on that replay here. But very bizarre. And you can see the players are also kind of like, that happened. We did take a win here.
Yeah, you saw it right on the camera as it ended. Aura's like, oh, like, we won, we did it. And it's like, well, I don't know if we did it, but it happened, right? We got the W. But it was close, and quite frankly, the credit should still go to C's, right? I mean, the way that he was able to take control of that first place.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So Hero, yeah, he's just racing. He is going to go straight to the end. Oh, Spear, yeah, I think Spear, maybe he found himself jumping off the angle just a little bit. He tries to get a drift right at the end, isn't able to find the angle. He hits the wall, and that allows Aura to just cross the finish line first.
Yeah, that's really rough. And yeah, maybe it looked like for a second, maybe he was trying to actually block Hero there. But yeah, I think you're right, though. I think he just missed it, trying to get a little drift angle there. Rough times, though, here for KWANGDONG.
Well, it looks like it is tied up right now, so we'll go another round. As we go into round 3, it's Village Boom Hill Tunnel. And we begin Boom Hill Tunnel, tied 1-1 in speed mode in the team match between KWANGDONGFREECS and Aura.
We go around this roundabout here. C's and Luning take the left path here, but we'll put them at the back. And once again, KWANGDONG with a stronger start here. World and Sungbane up at the front with Spear in third. I mean, this is the ideal setup here for KWANGDONGFREECS. I mean, I'm not talking about the fact that they're all in top 4, but when you have World, Sungbane, and Spear in third, somewhere between third and fifth, he can do so much defensively. Then you've got 1 and 2 kind of on lock here. As Spear could sacrifice himself to make sure that gap widens here. As Hero is trying his best, man, but it's basically a 1v5 for him up here, as he's playing it so well, though.
Yeah, I mean, again, if he can make the same magic happen that C's did, he's trying to make it happen. Oh, hits the wall a little bit, trying to weave in between the two players of KWANGDONGFREECS, and Spear finds that opportunity to come back and help defend for his teammates.
Yeah, and Spear, the thing is, he could do so much. He could create collisions here and sacrifice his own speed, because he doesn't actually need to be in top 3 here, so he could just make Hero's life miserable at his own cost. And Hero, I mean, he is playing so well, out of his mind right now.
Yeah, even on the shortcut, he makes sure he defends himself as he makes the jump. Now, he still wasn't able to break the 1-2 just yet, but gives an opening for Luning to try to catch up. Luning gets the draft and isn't able to overpass just yet.
Yeah, it's still looking like there's just not enough members here, though, for Aura, and it is going to be a 2-1 now lead for KWANGDONGFREECS. As on this 1-lap track, it's a pretty short one. It's one of the shortest ones in competitive kart rider, and you get a lead like that early and defend it. I mean, this is, like I said, it doesn't get better than having Spear set up with 2 front runners and no challengers. Hero alone did a lot, but you need more than that. You need the rest of your team to have a better start, and that left approach going through the roundabout meant that they just didn't have any follow-up there whatsoever. And I think KWANGDONG looked way better prepared for this map. Their map pick, of course, track pick, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a map, it's a track, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's a track on a map, right? In the third round, so. Well, I mean, Kwangdong Freaks, I think, again, it really just comes down to the starts have simply been better, right? Right off, as the countdown goes down to 0, they are able to not only make sure that they're getting their boosts filled up, but also block against the majority of Aura so that they can't kind of get the starting lineup that they want, the starting positions, and then Aura always has to be the ones playing catch-up. Now, Aura, they've got to figure this out, right? Whatever the answer truly is in terms of mechanics involved, they got to realize that Guangdong's clearly all focused in on that section of the race.
Hero with some great heroics, to be honest, though, but you can just see that 1v3, there's very little options for him, and this was an incredible play here, but you know, he's still alone, has to defend himself on the shortcut 1v2, and there's just not much he can do when there's no one else anywhere nearby. And you're also, while making all those choices, knowing it may just be inevitable. Even if you get first, you can't do it alone.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aura, they got to get a better team start as the countdown goes down to 0 as we go into round 4 in the speed mode, going to WKC Brazil circuit.
Off we go on WKC Brazil. The start here, much better for Aura this time around.
Yeah, definitely the kind of style that they've always been wanting to go for. Hero and Luning up front. C's not far behind to support. Much better position than they've had in the previous tracks.
World here just trying to maintain that lead now as Spear is getting on the aggressive here.
And we got to mention that the WKC tracks in general, they are a bit wider, so there's a lot more chance to catch up. However, out of those, because of the kind of slight shortcuts you can take, Brazil does present the most difficulty, I would say, out of all the WKC tracks.
I would agree, especially when you consider there's a lot of ways to avoid attacks here, and you can, of course, go a little off-road, as we're seeing here on this track, and it's usually the most common build to do so, and it becomes very easy to actually, if you're watching, if you're very diligent, avoid some of those back attacks. Now, Hero and C's here up in first and second for a moment. Still, Aura maintaining a pretty nice amount of control, 135. 7 points ahead as we move into the final lap here. We will need to see a more consistent form of attack here from Spear, who has otherwise looked invisible outside of the first 500 meters or so.
Yeah, I mean, also credit to Nock, right, keeping those members behind. Meanwhile, it's World and Sungbin just trying to break apart the potential 1-2, and so far, I mean, World's doing a good job of contesting for that number 1.
Yeah, it's just kind of been a draft pack here as well. Everybody is just riding at the same speed, and because of that radius you talked about, the track being so wide, it's really difficult to break through. Luning and Nock pushing into first and second now.
Oh, but Kwangdong Freaks, they're actually now they've got the triplets all up front. They're ready to try to break apart the lineups of Aura. Now, currently, because of the potential 1-2, Aura seems to be way ahead in points, but if you get the right draft in one of these corners, Kwangdong Freaks, they could overtake.
Yeah, Sungbin here pushing forward. If World can actually go and join him, that might be the best way here. Will he take a greedy inner? He's blocked out.
Oh, and Aura, they're able to close him out. They even overtake at the end to get the 1, 2, and 3 finish for good measure, and Aura will be taking us to the final round of speed mode.
Yeah, match point here for Aura and speed. This is what we wanted to see if Aura was going to take Kwangdong Freaks out tonight to prove themselves in speed mode. Yeah, they had the gimme. We'll give them that, you know, that there was that one mistake, right? But beyond that, they've looked pretty competitive here and maintaining that lead at the very end, even though there was a great push there from World. It looked like maybe Sungbin and World could actually take the 1-2 and steal this win away. Was not going to happen.
Yeah, and again, it really comes down to the fact that, first of all, Aura got the start that they usually like to have, which is sending Hero and Luning up front to start to race on their own measures. And then you select a track, you know, like the WKC tracks, where you have opportunities and you have a little bit more agency of when to pick and choose to get those drafts, right? Because everyone's always going to be kind of near another racer, so you can choose to get those, whether it's around a corner, whether it's on a straightaway, to try to overtake at an unsuspecting moment.
Yeah. Really good defensive play, man. William, it is the final track here, Glacier Extreme Stadium. One of these two teams is going to take speed mode. Will we see a potential upset? Let's find out on our final track.
And the last track to determine who will be winning speed mode between these two teams. Of course, this selection coming in from Kwangdong Freaks as they had speed mode priority.
Cool taking the lead here. Nock trying to contest as we see at the back of things here. A lot of chaos, a few collisions actually, as well as Hero is really struggling to run up where he wants to, but actually will win out in that fight. Sungbin dropping back significantly.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot more aggression from Hero, right? So even though he's not in first place, he's doing what he can to really fulfill his role. But that does mean now Nock and C's, kind of as those veterans on this team, they really got to help kind of present an opportunity for maybe Luning or even Hero, who's now trying to catch up to the rest of the pack.
Yeah, you can see World and Sungbin are just super far behind us. We head into these hairpin turns here. I think the only hope for Kwangdong is actually a 1-2 finish here for Spear and Cool. That's what it's looking like right now. Two unlikely heroes here for Kwangdong. I say that though, we do actually see a few move up here. World actually now into top 4. Now they've got the 2-3-4 win condition as we move into the final lap.
Yeah, and C's trying to go for an aggressive straight boost on that jump to try to overtake Spear and maybe knock him out of the race. He actually ends up falling way too far behind, so took a high risk, and it does not pay off. So now it's really down to Nock, has to hold on to that first place, and Luning's got to find an opening, but there's a lot of Kwangdong Freaks racers.
Oh, Luning actually holding that wall very nicely there and keeping Sungbin off of him has made such a great recovery here, but they need to push for that 1-2 right now, and it unsuccessful. Another collision as well, dropping Nock back, and this one feels doomed now. He's back at 6, and World is just blocking him out.
Yeah, World, you can just tell by the movement from World, he is only focused on blocking out those members. However, 3 members of Aura all come at the same time. World cannot defend them all at once. Hero's now trying to find an opening. He weaves in between 2 players to try to catch up.
Incredible attempt here from Hero, just 1 point behind right now. Can he get the pass? He's taking an aggressive inner.
Oh, he's not able to get the pass, and Luning also loses out that first place. Luning actually tries to go for a stop near the end, but he's not going to find the target he wants. Actually, both Aura players bumping into each other, and Kwangdong Freaks with the 1-2 finish will secure speed mode 3-2.
Yeah, 3-2 victory here. It was hard fought though. It was not an easy one, and Kwangdong really were forced to work for it, you know, and I really like the attempt there from Hero though at the final moments for Aura, because in those hairpin turns you have some of the most agency in the track pool right now, and he was like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna actually go for this crazy build, hard inner, and then try to push the wide turn there on the right side to pass, but it doesn't have enough momentum, unfortunately. And Kwangdong will take speed here, but this is the expected result, right? Which is why we were saying if Aura wins it in an ace match, you know, you'll feel good about that if you're an Aura fan, but to do it in speed, that's what would be the most impressive. Because Aura is, of course, more famous for their item mode, even though their speed has improved quite a bit. So now we'll have Tech, the item ace, one of our more interesting item ace players here coming in. There he is on camera.
Yeah, and Hero will be sitting out. So they did have a bit of a switch up, right? As we started preseason 2, it was Luning, who was kind of the speed ace, so when he played the speed bone, and now they say, okay, Hero, like, you're the guy who's meant to focus on speed. Luning will be continuing to play here alongside Tech and the rest of the squad for item mode as we take a look at the track bans and picks.
Yeah, Sphinx's Riddle will be the first choice here for Aura. We've seen this one before already. Shark's Wake, one of our newer tracks here for this season, and Mine Motherload. So that's what Aura decided to go for. They had, of course, item priority here. And then Town Hall and Brody's Gloom will be the tracks for Kwangdong Freaks. As we will see, once again, London Knight is banned away. I think the variance that you have means good item mode teams really just like to ban that one, because they're like, sometimes you get London Knighted, you know? Yeah. Sometimes it's just a bad time on London Knight. I respect that they banned that one, though. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially if you think, like you said, Wolf, if you think you have the advantage, I mean, that track is fairly easy to catch up on, right? It's very wide. The items are kind of spaced out in the exact positions you would want them to. So there's a lot of more, I guess, things that you're not accounting for. You don't have as much control over your own destiny. It's much more about kind of just the relativity of what items you get against each other. So first of all, we will be going to the track choice coming in from Aura as they try to tie things up in this team match as we go into Desert Sphinx's Riddle. And the race begins. Aura, can they win the item mode and bring us to yet another ace match here in KDL Preseason 2? It's going to be the questions. We've already got some attacks flying through. C's taking the lead here, but doesn't have anything defensive, so he won't be holding on to it for very long. We'll actually pick up an EMP, actually several EMPs for our leaders here. quite a significant item to hold at this early stage. And ooh, look at this, some lightnings picked up here in the first lap. So let's see if they use them for tempo, if they want to hold them for a timing. Because often if you pick up 2 lightnings like this, you could just send those players to the back and have them just attack from behind, pick up some angels and say, all right, if you can push towards the front, we just time this at the very last part of lap 3 and end the race. And that's exactly what they're doing, stacking those players towards the bottom side of the standings now.
Yeah, I mean, they can, again, the double lightning alone is just so much pressure, right, against the enemy team that they have to be prepared for this. And they're, quite frankly, they don't have the arsenal to prepare against it yet. We're actually not seeing any angels on either team. So a lot more calculation in terms of, okay, what's the sequence of attacks that we need to account for?
Yeah, and the drop rate for those two is a little bit tougher to pick, you know, when you're trying to force those tempo advantages early. Is right now, I mean, KWANGDONGFREECS here have such a stacked set of items. It's really going to be hard here for the side of Aura, and they're not even in control at the front here. Barricade not the item Knock wants here, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we'll be entering that, you know, 3rd lap here soon enough, and still no sign of really defense from either team, right? We've got magnets, lightning. Sure, you have a couple EMPs here and there, and that'll stop the magnets, but if you get a couple more, you know, rockets, if you get a couple more water balloons even, that really kind of, as you try to exit out of the tomb here, this could spell trouble.
Yeah, a magnet picked up for Luning, and I mean, he might really be the only one who's the hope here for the side of Aura if he can actually push through. Maybe if he can pick up a shield, that could be the way. He's unfortunately going to eat this UFO early on.
Yeah, Aura right now, actually, they have the 1-2 position, so if they can have one person kind of dedicated to try to draw that aggro, sure, World shoots forward for now, but they have enough of their racers up front that one can draw the aggro, and then the others can try to push right through.
Luning getting caught here, and here's the first lightning coming through, and this is World just using it to ride forward, but he got hit!
Yeah, Knock just makes it right through, actually makes way for C's as well. Oh man, World thought he had it in the bag, but he just gets absolutely chain attacked, has to try to avoid the barricade as well. And during that moment, 2 of the members of Aura will just slide right on by.
Yeah, I mean, I was just tunneling on the lightning hard. I thought with the advantage they had there that he was just going to be fine. And when the lightning struck, it looked for a moment like he was, in fact, going to just have that one on lock. But with the missile coming through, he's hit by the rocket and the chain attacks come through. And just not enough of an advantage there. So Aura, due to the timing there at the very end, pretty much stock standard. It wasn't like a, okay, we've got this exact specific way we're going to end the track. Nope, just going to attack the guy in front, pass him at the last second. Done. Easy.
Yeah,
the best defense is a good offense, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I also like the fact that, you know, with all those magnets that they had stored up, instead of trying to save it for the very end like we used to in Preseason 1, they basically use it as a tempo to really say, okay, let's all get to the front or middle of the pack. That way, when we chain these attacks, at least one of us will make it through, right? So really just understanding that, you know, it's a numbers game at that point if neither team is really holding on to a bunch of angels. So good play by Aura. Let's see if KWANGDONGFREECS can bounce back on their own pick as we go into round 2 of item mode between these 2 teams on Village Town Hall.
Off we go. Aura leading us 1-0 here as we move into our second track of item mode.
And this is another 3-lapper. Now this one, of course, there's a little bit of an interesting setup here as you kind of have the over-under setups, a lot of narrow passageways in those tunnels as well. So different items can find some different uses, especially near the finish line, right? You can try to turn around and really mess up the first place runner on the opponent team and things like that.
Yeah, Knock and Luning taking a pretty significant lead here, but will be under attack as really big bubble actually going to connect to your C's, doing some damage and widening that gap between Knock and the rest of the team.
Just going over that banana. Well, he does go into the wall a little bit further than perhaps he wanted to off of that spin out, but it is item mode, so he'll be able to catch right back up. No big problem there.
Yeah, you can see our, I don't want to call it a kill feed, but we do have a feed that tracks the item connections there to the bottom left, so you can see who is hitting whom. Coming through is cool. Trying to actually control here in first place. He and Nock are kind of fighting in this weird 1v1 right now as a Nitro will come through for Luning, as we're going to see they can pick up doubles here. Luning actually holding now 2 rockets, so he is dangerous. Will fire one off right away.
Yeah, and even though, you know, you don't get knocked out of the race as much as you used to now with these balloons on your carts, again, if you continue to chain it, you're just never going to regain that speed that you lost.
Yeah, exactly. And Luning, I mean, he is holding both of these right now. We'll toss one out so we can grab this shield. We'll be able to absorb the hit. He's in first place right now, and the tempo advantage does feel like Aura is holding it pretty significantly right now. And Nock also has a magnet, so he can use that to continue to push forward here and pull one of these players back. Yeah, really like the setup.
Yeah, and if Luning, you know, if he continues to just get a bunch of these defensive items, he can again be that one that draws out all the aggro, draws out all the attacks of the enemy team, and then one of his teammates, maybe like Tech, who has that boost, can be positioned to try to overtake first place again.
Now, World has 2 Lightnings, which is, again, kind of astronomically low chances, but he should just be able to toss those out here. 400 meters to go. He probably wants to use it right now. Here he comes.
There it is. There's one, and the second one obviously goes out right away as well, just to make sure, and that's an easy finish line cross here for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Yeah, I mean, we had the joke earlier about the item god, but I mean, he did say, I will bestow on you the double lightning and an angel, and thou shalt win this track.
That's pretty much how it happened, actually. The prayers are answered for KWANGDONGFREECS.
Because, I mean, with 2 lightnings and an angel, it's really easy to just force your way through there, and that is exactly what happened in the final moments. I feel bad for Aura on this one. Look, they had a great tempo advantage. I liked how they were playing the early game, but sometimes you get a little bit unlucky. The lead was not big enough to protect them from an attack like that.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, it happens sometimes, right? It happens sometimes on item mode, but that's what we have best ofs, right? And that's why, obviously, we have this round robin. Now, as we've come to...
He's praying to the item god.
Yeah, he's like, come on, where's our turn? Like, come on. Well, we'll see. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, sure, sometimes the chances are in favor of your opponents, but it is a numbers game, and if you are the better team, you should always have a couple more options in your pocket. And I'm looking forward to see what Aura's got prepared here on Shark's Wake, because this is another one that a lot of these teams try to avoid against teams that they might think are weaker against them, just because there's a lot more wider areas, things like that. So the fact that Aura picked it up, curious to see what they have planned against KWANGDONGFREECS as we go into round 3 of item mode between the 2 teams on Glacier Shark's Wake. And we begin on Shark's Wake. Aura trying to regain the lead here in item mode.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, very wide open here on Shark's Wake outside of these initial turns here, and it's a track that I think is really beautiful. Like, I actually really like it. Got a lot of penguins and stuff like that, but it is a track where you see a lot of explosive tempo-based plays, right? It's an item mode map where where you attack often, so you're just going to see these flying non-stop as we see here.
Yeah, just everything being piled on here throughout the entire first lap.
Because there's not a lot of architecture on the map to work with to try to use your items to look for a positional advantage or some sort of really cool timing or tech. It's really just about using your items aggressively and fighting it out all track long. And we're going to have 3 laps of this as we win the second lap right now. You can see it's just constantly on the feed. Attack, attack, attack.
Yeah, that's all we're seeing, right? Not enough blocks either. I mean, World has a couple shields on him right now. He's able to avoid one of those water bombs, but outside of that, a lot of these are connecting. The magnets are getting negated by those EMPs, so we're starting to see the EMP really show its true power here preseason 2.
I mean, with 3 shields picked up and now an EMP for World, that's his 3rd shield in a row, and he has the EMP here. He has built a significant advantage right now over Tech. He's actually really way up there right now, and with his luck continuing to come through, another shield is picked up. This guy is starting to be so far ahead that even when he does get hit by a UFO, he's going to have an advantage. But finally, eventually runs out of shields here.
Yeah, and everyone else is going to be able to catch back up here in item mode. Now, like you mentioned, he's finally going to cycle through because he doesn't have that first place anymore. Now, World does hold on to a UFO. He's just going to use it right away to continue that tempo because like you said, Wolf, here it's just attack, 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 try to maintain the tempo.
Yeah, now he's had a good banana earlier. This one's not going to connect, unfortunately, though, but he's holding on to a magnet. As Nock moves into first place, he's got that old magnet rush combo, which will still work.
Yeah.
And they have a lightning here, too. I mean, this is looking really good for Aura right now.
Yeah, and Luning's positioned with a double boost as well, so if one of his teammates get taken looking out. He should be able to go through.
That magnet.
Yeah, Nox pushing forward, and Luning's got that double boost. He does get it by the UFO, and it slows down just enough for Sungbin to pass him by in the last split second.
Oh, you love to see the excitement on his face as well. I mean, it doesn't really get closer than that.
Wow.
A photo finish for Sungbin to take the win here for Kwangdong, man. And Aura, 2 tracks in a row. It just feels like everything is against them right now in item here. And this will, of course, push KWANGDONGFREECS to match point right now, 2-1. But, like...
Dang. I mean,
you just gotta feel for these guys.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that UFO flying forward. I was like, there's no way, right? Like, he's so far ahead with double boost. Like, there's no way that actually slows him down in time. And it hits him right before he's able to cross the finish line. And the aliens had other plans here as they allow Sungbin to cross the finish line first. Yeah. And they lead item mode.
He did identify the object. He was like, oh no, it's on me. I'm not flying.
Oh, no.
I'm slowing.
Yeah, they don't feel good about that one, but they're going to have to bounce right back if they want to push this to a potential ace match, because they're down even in item mode as we go into round 4 on Factory Brody's Glue.
Off we go. KWANGDONGFREECS here, match point, series point as well. A win here on this track would actually just end it 2-0 for them. So we're going to see what World picks up. Just the Nitro, nothing too fancy in this first lap.
Yeah, trying to go for the double item, misses it, but says, we'll just move on forward, try to fill it up on the next pass, and he is going to get a water bomb for his trouble, so he tries to use the boost first to try to catch up.
Luning and Nock being the ones in the front here, and Nock, like World last track, will have 2 shields he can hold on to try to further that lead and avoid some of those attacks.
Yeah, of course, this track, wow, the Barricade actually doing some good work against a lot of these players. Now, contrary to Shark's Wake, like we talked about, this track, there's a lot of architecture, right? A lot of obstacles on the map to work with, so the timing of these items are ever more important.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, you got doors closing, you have several different openings, so you have to know which path your opponent's going to take, for example, before you fire that item. I do agree. It's not just press the button, fire the item. You actually have to think about how you're going to utilize it. It's Angel and EMP are picked up here for Luning, who's sitting up in first place right now. This is pretty massive for Aura if he can hold on to those as we move into our final lap here. Double Angel now for Nock. So they can, if they can just hold first, you know, they could pretty much absorb everything.
Yeah, Nock's actually just going to take those hits. He says, I'll keep the double Angels for my teammates, try to set them up so that other people can try to gain better aggressive items, but it's not coming through just yet for Aura.
Yeah, World here is going to get EMP, but he's still maintaining first place, and you can have all those defensive items, but it doesn't matter if you can't get in position to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really seeing an opening right now. Wolf, KWANGDONGFREECS, they've got 3 members up front. They've got a shield and an EMP as well. No one's touching World. Aura, they have to start to cycle through these Angels just so they can try to get an attack on the board. Oh, tag! He tries to sneak right through. Makes the wrong selection, and KWANGDONGFREECS is starting to run away with the C's, does have a boost. He has one opportunity here. The Angel used so he can try to go through and negates that. Oh, Lightning, but he gets wisped.
Yeah, he's wisped, and now World here is eating a lot of damage, but Sungbin will actually get through the line first. Looked scary there for a second, our observers, man, giving me a jump scare. Giving me a jump scare, but Sungbin will cross the line, and KWANGDONGFREECS will take the series 2-0. Our defending champions here do beat these new up-and-comers, Aura, a team that looked so strong, and a team that gave them trouble even in those playoffs for Preseason 1.
Yeah.
But a clean 2-0 here. I think, obviously, the speed mode a lot closer than what happened here in items, but it also felt like circumstance and the item gods, as we'll call it, were on the side of Kwangdong. But this will put them firmly in first place, especially when we consider the round advantage they had going into this one, too. They are up there in our standings.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a win that KWANGDONGFREECS is going to feel really good about, and quite frankly, as you can see on the faces of the players, I think for Aura, it does feel disappointing, right? It looked like there was actually so much potential for them to make this upset. It sounded like it wasn't going to be as crazy as you might have imagined in Preseason 1. And yet, you know, after that close run in speed mode, item just did not go their way today.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just how it goes. And I feel like We talked about this, you and I, a lot last week, but I do think...
Yeah, Hero just kind of crying, tears here. Obviously, he wasn't playing in the item mode either, so he just kind of feels bad for his teammates. But I like what you mentioned, right? While the item mode doesn't go their way, it's also because they kind of chose to always set themselves up for tempo.
Yeah.
And then if you don't get the items, then you're really screwed, right?
Yeah,
so you got to have another option in your pocket.
Yeah, we talked about this last week a lot, but I think the way the item mode has changed is definitely for the better. It makes it a more enjoyable mode to watch and to play. So I'm happy with that. And with Aura losing here today, it's a regular season match against one of your toughest opponents. When we go into playoffs later, if they meet again, as they did in playoffs last season, you have a more expanded series that you could play against this team when it is, all or nothing. And I think you can't really be disappointed with playing the defending champions this close if you're Aura.
Yeah, absolutely not, right? While, again, the potential seemed to be there, I think they had expectations for themselves. It's just a round robin. They'll still get another chance if they were able to make it to the playoffs, which they most likely should. So for Aura, I think it's going to be important to just say, okay, brush this under for now. Let's move on to the next matches. Let's continue to figure out this meta, especially in item mode, so that we can be prepared for that tournament stage.
Yeah, it's us. I am looking forward to seeing KWANGDONGFREECS continue to dominate, though, on another, like on another opposite side of things. We talked about, like, okay, they won, a little bit of unfortunate circumstance for Aura, but KWANGDONG, this team actually might be on their way to building a dynasty, right, in the early Cartwriter days. Now, these are preseason, so these will not be counted as, like, official records. Not going to be going, okay, man, back-to-back titles already as move into the first season of KDL. But, I mean, the expectations for this team were high, right? They delivered. They're continuing to deliver. Still undefeated here. Only 3 matches, but some pretty tough opponents they've come up against already. So I'm liking their chances.
Yeah, I think so. And I agree with what you said, right? If they're able to do maybe even back-to-backs in preseason, while it doesn't go down in the official records and their official careers, it sets the tone for the first regular season at the end of the year to say, okay, that's the target to beat. Who's going to be able to beat KWANGDONGFREECS? And that's a storyline that you enjoy as a player, right? When you say, okay, like, we're the only one that everyone's talking about because everyone wants to try to beat us. I mean, that's the position you want to get to, and I think KWANGDONGFREECS, they are well on their way to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, essentially you get to be like the final boss.
Yeah.
And everybody knows it, right? And you've already got the special place in the opening video, right, as well. And we'll see what happens for the next one. How much cooler can KWANGDONG be? And I don't know. I think for some of these young players as well on the side of Aura, they look like they really want it. They look like they're really motivated. And sometimes a loss like this can actually be really good for a team in regular season where, it gets you to realize some of your faults. Maybe they look at this and go, wow, normally when we do this against weaker teams in item mode, it always works for us, but maybe there's actually some flaws in what we're trying to do here. And if the coaching and the review of this is good, then they probably won't be walking away from this one saying, RNG got us, unlucky,
Sure, yeah. So hopefully they are able to bounce back. I would very much love to see that happen for Aura. But ladies and gentlemen, of course, we have more matches lined up for you tonight. In fact, we're going to the solo match first, and we'll return to team matches. So the solo match is Group D of the round of 32. The only group with no new rookies here for solos. Can't wait for it. We'll be right back after this break.